So Honda CB500X 2021 model, middleweight adventure tourer, 471cc parallel twin. The GSs are single cylinder, right? KTM 390 single cylinder. Parallel twin, of course, will be a little bit heavier at 199 kgs. But the advantage of a parallel twin is you have a lot of torque down low. So 43 Newton meters at 6,500 RPM, and it makes peak power of 47 bhp at 8,500. What that means is that this bike can do the tarmac section absolutely beautifully. The thing is that with having a parallel twin, you've got that low end power, which on ice and snow is very, very helpful, especially in the mud, because at like very low RPM, the bike is just chugging along, right? You're not revving it up high like the single cylinder GS or any single cylinder bike for that matter, or a triple like a Tiger, which makes its power and torque at a very high level. That's why they sound so good, because you're revving out to the max. But you need that low end power. Africa Twin, parallel twin, BMW 1250 GS, parallel twin. These are tractor motors, right? They good. You'll know that noise. That's really nice for off-road conditions. But also, this bike has a lot of 8,500 RPM redline, 9,000 RPM redline, and it just bangs out the power through the gear. So it sounds amazing and a lot of fun to ride. Curb weight 199 on the heavier side. Fuel tank at 17.7 liters, averaging around 28 kilometers per liter, which is pretty solid because you're at the worst conditions. Very high speed on tarmac and very, very low speed. So you're never in that economy of 40 to 60 ever, right? So making 28 in that case is really good. Ground clearance 181, never hit the bottom once, but we're doing snow and ice. We're not doing rocks and that, so there's no skid plate on the bike, but good enough ground clearance. And the tires, which is the biggest question, right, is these are stock standard Dunlop Trail Max tires that come on the bike as stock standard. Now the reason why you don't want to put anything else is because you're going to put snow chains anyways, you're going to lose traction anyways, so what's the point? What's the point of putting mud, empty tires or knobbies or whatever else? You're actually going to compromise tarmac control. So these tires perform really, really well on the tarmac. So you've got that ability to blast off the sections of hundreds of kilometers, reaching the ice and snow. In the ice and snow, you're anyways in big trouble. Drop the PSI down, so hence everything is stock. Petrol pumps may not be open and all the stuff may be frozen, right? So that's the situation. So the recovery vehicles have fuel, right? So our recovery vehicle has enough fuel for the 3 bikes. And from our perspective, we did not hit a problem of fuel. No, actually in Tabo, we did fuel up. So we used the fuel on the recovery vehicle twice. So if we didn't have that fuel, we'd be in trouble. So yeah, we would have been in trouble, right? Definitely would have been in trouble. So we fueled up when yeah.
In this altitude itself, the cloud point and of the fuel is reached. It starts freezing.
No, the temperature, the ambient temperature of the diesel actually. Okay. The diesel has a problem. So the diesel will have antifreeze. So for the cars, the recovery vehicle, they'll have winter diesel. Yes. That winter diesel, if it's available, you're good to go. If it's not available, you're out of luck. Yes. You put antifreeze into your tank. It's a big hassle. Right. So on the bikes being petrol, you're not at that much of a concern, but you're at the concern that there are no locals to run pumps. And what if they decide not to wake up? You know, and then you're leaving at 5, 6 in the morning, you're riding all day. So having fuel in your recovery vehicle is absolutely important. Absolutely important, yeah? Now bike accessories, I've labeled this as needed, right? Now the reason why I've kept the branding small and to the side is because let's not focus on the brand. There are obviously certain brands that are better than others. There are brands that are more expensive, less expensive. It's going to fit your budget and need. Not all engine guards are made the same, that's for sure. Not all cameras are made the same. Some people want a GoPro, some people want something off Alibaba. It's all in your own spend and budget. But just understand that there are certain brands that are global leaders in this, and we tend to stick to them because the CB500X is a global product. These things have already been invented. We don't need to look at upstarts in this space for a product that's already been around for so many years, right? So we want to go with kind of the global best that exists, but there are many options. So your engine guard is up over here, down over here, right? Engine guard, tank guard. Tank guard and engine guard is important from the perspective of the clutch side and then the engine side. You kind of don't want to break an engine case. That's probably a worst case situation, and your ride is probably going to be done. Next up, heated grips. So heated grips are because we're dealing with ambient temperatures in -20s, and then you're also looking at wind. So that wind plus the ambient temperature is going to get your fingertips, your extremities get very cold, your nose, your feet, your toes, your fingers. So heated grips are like, you'll get frostbite if you don't have them. Like, it's not an option. Like it is absolutely not an option. At one point in time, one of the BMWs, their heated grips froze. So he didn't have heated grips for about 30 minutes and he said the worst pain of his life. Like it was miserable because everything is freezing. You move your hand to the brake, it starts to freeze. Like it's very, very cold. Lever protection, super important. We're expecting to drop the bikes. We're expecting to take a lot of heavy hits. We don't know, we can't lose a brake lever, we can't lose a clutch lever, we may have spares. How many spares will you have? I mean, I fell 8 times. How many times are you going to replace a lever? So Barkbusters are a global leader. We use them on all our bikes. Now the Barkbusters with a storm guard. So these guards are very large to keep the heat. From the heated grips, whatever heat's coming is retained by the large guard. You'll see thinner Barkbusters, you'll see some bikes with no plastic protection. This is for wind. Right, this is for wind, and if you're riding in the jungle, it's also for like stuff that's going to hit your hand. Right, so the storm guard is potentially for winter conditions. ADV mirrors, there'll be some videos. So basically, this falls, you're not worried about breaking a mirror stem. Right, so you're going to drop the bike a lot. Super adjustable, super easy ram mount to double take mirror. We don't want to be losing mirrors. One of the GSs broke his mirrors, both of them. What are you going to do? Right, you're back on the highway at the end of the ride. You need this stuff. So double take mirror, super important. Phone mount, that's going to be a rock form mount over here. So basically, it's just clips onto my phone. That's in there for GPS, communication, music, creature comforts, right? But mostly for Google Maps when we're in the map sections. 12-volt socket, which is Honda OEM. We installed this. Super important because tire pressure is going to be going up and down. If your recovery vehicle fails, which ours did, you need to be able to be self-sufficient. So we'll come to a mini compressor. The mini compressor plugs into the 12 volt that then powers up your compression for your tires. So you can do that variable. You need to have these tools available, right? So I'm coming down to 10 PSI and hitting tarmac. If I don't air up, I'm going to bend a rim. Again, ride ending, right? Can't have that happen. So you air up. We used our compressor. Even though almost every car had a compressor, we ended up using the bike compressors because bikes and recovery vehicle speeds are very different. We don't want to be waiting because the car is going to take 2 more hours, right? Sun's going down, they've got headlights, they've got heat, we need to go, right? So 12 volt socket, super important. Aux lights, which I don't have, which I wish I had, because we had a little bit of error in installing them. Took them off the Africa Twin, put them on here. There was an issue in Shimla. We said, dump it. Let's not get into this. We don't want to be messing with electricals. So we don't have the aux lights, but we really, really needed them. So I was riding behind the GS that had big aux lights and then just hoping we don't crash into each other, right? Putting 100 meters of space, white light coming off the headlight, wearing yellow goggles, that kind of dealt with it, but aux lights would definitely have been good. And a side stand extender, which we don't have, which we should have had, because that would have really increased the pressure plate of the footrest, right? So that way you can it won't dig into the ground, which happened a lot. Now the other accessories that are highly recommended. So, yeah, Maggie is very important. So I'm just going to kind of show you guys quickly, right? So a puncture kit is super important. Again, you don't want to, you're expecting punctures. Last time I was in Zanskar, I had 3 punctures in one day, right? Front tire, 2 punctures, rear tire, 1 puncture in the same day. So it's tough stuff. So that's how big the puncture repair kit is, and compressor, right? So this is both. Again, this is no endorsement for these brands. This is just what I personally use. So the puncture repair kit is a plug style kit. Fort9 has a fantastic video on YouTube about all the types of puncture kits and what you can choose from. This is a little bit more modern. And then the compressor, JB Weld, in case we rip through metal parts and we want to weld something on the fly, that's there. Never had to use it, luckily. And that's pretty much the entire compressor. Nice. So this compressor, now the problem is at altitude, it takes a very long time. It just keeps running and running and running. And if you do 3 bikes, 2 tires, 6 tires, it's a lot of work, right? So compressor, puncture kit, toolkit. So this is the entire toolkit. Now this is all on the bike, right? That's the important part. This is not in the recovery vehicle. This is on the bike, not on your person, because you're expecting to fall. And if you fall on your sunglasses, which has happened before, not to me, to another rider, you get it bruised on the inside, right? Because it's inside of your jacket. So nothing on the person. So this is the toolkit. Used this for about 2.5 years now, right? So batte, very important, right? And very, very important. And then pretty much just, I'll just hold this up. This has the ability to be hung up, right, like this. And then I can just hang it on the side. Ooh. And spanners for my bike. All Japanese bikes are pretty much similar. Allen keys, Torx, sockets, ratchets, lots of zip ties, duct tape, all that kind of stuff is all in here. Tire levers in case tires need to be changed. So this is an all-in-one, kit, all bought separately and just put on an Amazon tool roll. It's relatively inexpensive. Spanners and Allen keys, right? Occasionally you'll use a socket wrench. Socket wrenches can be used, especially bark buster stuff and all that. You need to hold on one side, tighten on the other side. So that's where the socket wrench comes into place. Mostly it's spanners. All of your bikes have a kit underneath the seat, right? That is good for your axle nut and for your minor adjustments of brake lever, gear lever, all that. But beyond that, you need to be prepared, right? So we use this toolkit 5 times a day. So on the GS, the bark busters kept getting loose, so keep tightening them. The mirrors kept coming loose, keep tightening them. My roadside repair, no repairs as such, but before the ride, changing out the mirrors, adjusting the brake lever for my boot. It's a big boot. Adjusting the gear lever for this to get underneath. So all these things you need your toolkit for. So having your own toolkit. Now on the 3 bikes, I was the only one with the toolkit, so we were kind of set because we knew. I was like, okay, I have all the tools, I have the knowledge to do basic work, and that's how we were able to do it. The fuel pump on the D-Max did freeze, right? So that is definitely possible. Okay. Things can freeze, things did freeze, right? On the modern bikes, we're generally okay. And on a Honda, you're generally okay, right?
Cladding is sufficient to...
Yeah. I mean, as you saw, that's why I showed the start video, like the bike started with no issues. Camera, satellite communication. Now, these are all highly recommended. Satellite communication because sat phones are banned in India. Satellite messaging is allowed. So using a Garmin InReach is a good idea. You keep your friends and family aware of where you are. Then you've got an SOS beacon. They coordinate a rescue for you in case you're out there solo or you're in a group and you fall off the side of a mountain. Now what? Last year I was with a group, but then I disappeared on the wrong track. Hours, having the satellite communication, being able to touch base with somebody through satellite is highly, highly recommended. And then having the SOS capability. So these are not cheap, but they're not expensive when you look at the life-saving potential, right? So the satellite device costs around $400 USD. Your monthly subscription is around $10 a month, and on expeditions around $50 a month, and then your rescue fees is around $20 a year is your insurance. So it's really not that expensive for considering somebody's going to come and rescue you. The rescue will cost, depending on which country or region you're in, but it's not a fail-safe, it's kind of a reassurance, right? So, and then on the satellite communication also you have GPS tracks, GPS maps, you know where you've come from, we did a small hike, we got a little lost because everything is white, so we're able to see the SATCOM, okay fine, this is where we have to go. So it just minimizes risk, right? Say it again please. Phones don't work. You can expect Geo a little bit, but generally we're expecting no phone coverage. You're generally expecting no phone coverage. Yeah. But then phone, guess what? Batteries die like instantly. So your phone comes out, it's dead. Like, I mean, at minus 20, minus 15, the phones it just gives you the too cold condition, the phone disables itself. Cameras, I lost one SD card, GoPro doesn't switch on. Everything is done. Like nothing. So the satellite device will run for the most part because those are rated for minus 50. Like these are what people use in these extreme conditions. So these devices will run, right? Casio watch will run, right? That's why you use the Casio watch. Leave your fancy watch at home, take a Casio for $2,000, you'll be fine, right? Tail bag. So where does all this go? I use an Endurostan tail bag. That's it. That's pretty much it. It rolls down. It's fully waterproof. It goes on the tail of the bike. That's it. Nothing else on the bike. Keep it lightweight. All of the safety gear, toolkit all fits in this. And then, then oximeter, blood pressure monitor, ORS, Disprin, Crocin. You will see that I've left out Diamox. It's a little controversial subject. I'm of the belief that you don't need to take Diamox before. If you do have an issue, I'm not a doctor. This just works for me, right? I've not had to take Diamox so far going into this. What is it, Diamox is basically prepares you for high altitude. When you go up to higher altitude, the gaseous exchange of your skin with the environment changes, same like scuba diving, right? Your body chemistry changes. Some people are more attuned to altitude mountain sickness, AMS. So if your doctor does recommend it, do whatever you got to do. I'm just telling you, for me, it's not something that I've done, and I've been fine so far, but that doesn't mean the next time I go up there, I'll be fine. right? Things are very different depending on your body chemistry at the time, the altitude, the temperature. So I don't take it, but many people do, right? Oximeter to measure your oxygen. Like there were many nights where we couldn't sleep. It's so cold. There's no heating. There's no electricity. It's minus 26 outside, minus 30 outside. In the room, the walls are frozen. The moisture is just frozen the walls. You're literally in a freezer, much lesser than a freezer in terms of temperature. And then you're at altitude, 12,500 feet. So there was, huh? Yeah, we had sleeping bags with us. We had 3 layers of clothes on, 2 blankets and a sleeping bag, but your head is still cold, right? So I put the heated warmers on my head and then tied it. Not in my turban, but I should. And then kind of like keeping your head warm. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. Many people face the same issues, like no sleep, headache every morning. It's very rough, right? It is very rough on the body. And having the oximeter, checking in. Now in those conditions, an oxygen level of 80 is normal. That's fine. There's no need to panic. But when you have a doctor with you, when you have a recovery team, that makes things a little easier to manage. You're not expecting your oxygen to be at 96 all the time, or 97 or 99. Blood pressure monitor. Every morning, check your blood pressure, see how things are going. High BP is very common. It does hit me also up over there with high BP. But now that I've been there a few times, especially higher up in Zanskar, I know what's my normal in those conditions, but these things can freak you out. A lot of people do get freaked out when they see their BP spike, but you need to talk to your doctor heavily before doing something like this. This is very serious, guys. It all looks fun and all that, but I try to show very realistic photographs so that you can see there's no happy smiling face photograph here, because this is an expedition. It's not a holiday. There's a big difference. So SATCOM, okay, so all the gauze, disinfectant, stove, fuel can, tea, coffee, Maggie. My entire kit is just this. That's it. That's everything you need to heat up water, except the butane canister. So if I just pop that open quickly. So many companies make this kind of stuff. It's your little water collection. This is your stove, matchbox. That's the burner. This screws into the can, and then you light it on fire and have good coffee. When things are going bad, having a good cup of coffee or a good chai or a good tea or a Maggie changes everything. So mindset is so important. Physical ability is so important. These small creature comforts make a big difference. So don't discount, Now the other problem is that if you do run out of situation in which there's no food at the hostel, or you're going somewhere, it happens all the time, you reach way later than expected, you're self-sufficient, right? You can have 2-3 bags of Maggie, you'll be fine for the night, right? So you need that little bit of redundancy built in. Now the gear, really quickly. So I'm going to kind of just quickly take you through the gear without spending too much time, because we're already at 9 o'clock. Are we okay for time, or everybody okay? Okay. So helmet, it's your head, right? I wear a turban every day to protect my head. It's a good joke. Megan, I like that joke, I don't know. But my head is very important. So when the turban is not on, the helmet is on, right? Or a hat. So I'm a big believer in Arai. Now the thing is, guys, again, the brand is not important. It's a certification. It's your spend level. We'll come to costing. It's easy for me to stand here and say, go buy all the best stuff. I am sponsored by a few of these companies, so I get a great deal. But that's not why I'm promoting them, right? I'm promoting them because after I bought them, then I got the sponsorship. I paid full price for everything. Then I got the sponsorship for the additional gear. Now, the reason why I prefer Arai, it's a very expensive helmet, but it's made in Japan, handcrafted. They have this crazy philosophy about their helmets. I had a huge track accident on last Saturday, face into the ground, 8 pulties. I'm standing here over here. It's because of the gear. I'll send you photographs of that later. So Arai XD4. I do have photographs of other riders. One was wearing a Fox helmet, significantly lesser price. A really, really good helmet. Certifications are very important. You can Google all of this. Another's wearing a Climb Krios helmet. Again, a little more expensive than a Fox, not as expensive as this, but very good. Now, this has lasted me 3 riding seasons. Now, the reason why we wear an ADV helmet like this is you see the peak, that's to block the sun, right? Because you get a lot of sun. You see the visor, and then the goggles, right? The face, the amount of space you've got there is enough for a goggle to fit in. But at the same time, the visor is kept on because, as you saw with the different riding conditions, going from like 80 kilometers per hour down to 5 kilometers per hour into cold, then it's hot. I'm able to put the visor down when the speeds get high. I'm able to put the goggles off and look through the visor when things get dark. I'm able to put the goggles on when things are too bright. There's a lot of versatility. You'll also notice the beak of the helmet is much longer. That's for airflow. You'll notice there's a lot of venting. That venting is for air to flow, because in off-road conditions, you're going to be riding slower, and the more air, you're going to be breathing very heavy. There was a Fortnite video again about how much CO2 you breathe back into your own helmet. It's huge. At stop, a lot of us, put our helmets open because we think that it's hot. It's because we're literally breathing CO2 out. Your oxygen in your helmet is dropping a lot. So the more space you have in your helmet, the better. I've had probably more than 30 falls on this. I've not hit my head, luckily, but 30 falls. It's been fine so far. Right, so that's on the helmet and the goggles. Goggles, 2 pairs, kind of interchange them with multiple lenses. All of this can be purchased in India, so this is not something you have to travel very far for. You can always switch out an RI for any other brand of helmet that's there with the certification that you're comfortable at, right? Having a more expensive helmet does not mean it's better. It just means there's more comfort, creature comforts. RI believes that sun visors are dangerous. They believe that anything additional is dangerous. They're a very basic helmet that's very, very well built, and that's all that it is, right? You're not going to have a lot of features, but the comfort is incredible. If you're riding for 15 hours a day, this is the helmet or type of helmet that I want to do that in. Also, the more you spend on a helmet, the more customized it becomes. All the cheek pads, head pads, everything can be adjusted millimeter by millimeter. So that helmet is an exact fit to my face. And you do it at home on your own. Like, nobody's going to do it for you. You sit down, you put it on, you take off a little bit. It's very easy to customize for yourself. But that being said, one crash with it, you're done. You got to buy another one. It's not a lifetime purchase. Don't think that, oh, I'll buy this helmet, it'll last me for 10 years. It's not going to happen. If you have one road accident, the helmet is compromised and you have to replace it, right? That is a general rule of thumb. Yeah. So now communications, right? Now, while we don't want to communicate with our co-riders, that's not our style of riding. We don't want to talk all day. But when I did do a ride with my cousin last year in Kashmir, we want to talk all day. We want to talk about stuff. So having communication is nice, but also being able to pick up phone calls without having to stop. Recovery vehicles calling you. You can't be on your sat phone. Sat phone is all about messaging because that's what's legal. You want to be able to pick up a phone, you want to listen to music. Those creature comforts go a long way, right? So the Senna 50C is what I use. Now the advantage is that it has a camera inbuilt, so I don't have to worry about a GoPro. Even though I do carry a GoPro, about 5% of my footage is from the GoPro, 95% is from the helmet cam. It's just so easy. Press a button, record, you're done. It overlays the music, it overlays the talking. So the price, if you're looking for a communication plus camera, then you need to consider that if you buy a non-camera device, you'll also have a GoPro. So if you're going to pay 20, 30,000 for a GoPro, you might as well get something from Senna, and we have them in stock. We're a dealer with Senna as well, right? So that's with Senna. Now on the layers. So your base layer, you start with thermals, right? So your thermals are basically just really good heat management devices with very good wicking capability. Decathlon has fantastic thermal layers. So this is what you do on a hiking trip, right? So I'm just going to leave it here. You guys can come check it out later. Next is body protection on the skin. So this is the Climb Tactical Vest. So essentially this is form fitted to your body, and it has Pro XD armor where it's soft, but when you hit it, it becomes hard, right? So this is your basically your body protection where the jacket will not protect. Right, like your jacket is not going to have protection everywhere. Generally, we have just on the elbows, shoulders. This has all in between. Right, so this something like this when you know you're going to fall so much is a good idea. Same with the tactical pants. This comes on as a second layer. Right, very, very important. Tailbone protector. Right, most jackets don't have tailbone protector. If you come off the bike hard and you break your tailbone, you're done. Like you cannot ride. So tailbone protector is super important. Also, it has a gel insert at the crotch area, because as we all know, it's very, very difficult to ride so long. So this definitely helps a lot. The saddle soreness is much lesser with this. Somebody had asked a question about long-term fatigue. Something like this helps. And then you've got protection where the pant will not give you protection, no matter what pant you get, right? So something like this, it goes a long way, right? Your next layer, I prefer a one piece. What it does is it keeps all that to the body, right? Very tight one piece. So your one piece basically, right, just make sure that everything is nice and tight. Most importantly, it allows the suit to flow over the body, right? The suit and the body are kind of independent. So as you're doing things on the bike, especially off-road, standing up, you don't want the suit to get caught on your skin or on the rest of itself. So having a one piece underneath, make sure that the suit can move easily. So the fourth layer, just a Climb Tactical shirt. Again, very durable. When you get off, have a lunch break, you want to look a little nice, right? You wear a shirt. So this just goes underneath. It's just one more layer of thermal insulation. The idea is layering. You can't wear a big puffy jacket underneath like this, right? Because you're going to get too hot on the bike. You're going to start moving around. So the ability to take off layers quickly is helpful. In this climate, we only kept adding on layers, right? We never took it off. It was just add on. So a shirt on top. And then finally, a suit. This is not washed, exactly what it looks like after a ride. It's about 3 seasons old. It's called the Climb Latitude. It is a touring jacket that's for off-road, light off-road, but more importantly, it's a 4-season jacket. What that means is that it's Gore-Tex on the outside, so it's fully waterproof. You don't need to wear another Gore-Tex lining on top. What that does mean is that in the heat, it doesn't breathe as well, right? If you have waterproof, it's going to be a little hot. But then the ability to open the vents, and then you have airflow, and then the ability to close the vents, and you have zero airflow, full waterproof capability, just makes it very easy for me to use and ride with. It's got floating armor, so armor in the shoulders, sides, no chest, has back armor. It's got knee protection, hip protection, and it zips together. And most importantly, on the pants, there are suspenders, and those suspenders keep the pants up, because as you're active on the bike, as you're moving around a lot, the last thing you need is your pants to come down. It happens all the time. I'm sure a lot of you are riding like this, right? He's saying also yes. All of you have done it. Suspenders are a good investment. So the zip part is important, because if you do come off the bike and your jacket rides up, that's a ride-ending accident as well. If you're on tarmac, that's going to dig through your skin, it's going to reach bone, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So having that zip, if all your jackets and pants have zips these days, you have to zip your jacket. This is just a ride practice that you need to get used to. Buy a set, zip it together. Different sets can zip together, especially if you buy within the same brand. Like if you buy Rhinox up and down, you can zip them. But you're guaranteeing that at least it'll stay together until a certain impact point, right? But that's very, very important. This was not planned for that. This was not planned to do IceKross. So it was like, right? But all of this has variable adjustments. Okay. And that, the thing is that if you look at this, it's not as good as a Rhinox jacket that costs 1/10 the amount with all the function. Okay. But this is 3 years old and it's gone through 30 crashes. Yes. So basically, this is not appropriate for South India. I've ridden it all around South India. I've done enduro time trials on this. It's very hot for South India, no matter what they say. Okay. So I'll probably be getting a mesh jacket for the south, but for Zanskar, for Himachal, it has been a dream. It's an absolute must, and I love it. So this will probably be my jacket for colder weather, traveling to different countries. This will be the gear that I'm going to use, and it has at least 2 or 3 more riding seasons in it, because I haven't had a road accident. I have had a road accident, but nothing got torn, right, in this. So if it does tear, so if you notice like all these reflectors and all are quite worn out, but that's not functional, right? That's okay. So next up is hydration, right? Now we don't have the ability to stop for you're talking about an extreme ride. You can't be stopping every 15 minutes because somebody has to drink water. So all riders are prepared to have their own water on them. So I use a Climb Quench Pack. Where is it? In the bag. Yeah, it was inside the bag. Right, so now the reason I use this is because it only holds water. I use water, driver's license, a little bit of cash, that's it. Right, that's it. Just what you need to fill petrol and to drink water. So it has a bladder inside which is fully washable, removable, all that, 1.5 liters. Plenty of companies make this. Again, the more you spend, not saying that it'll never go bad, it's just the reusability is, this is again 3 years old, and I've used it for every ride, and it's fantastic. A lot of crashes in this as well. Say it again, please. Yeah, the water does freeze. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know, but you're supposed to basically suck in and then blow back out. So you keep the line clear. This is kind of touching your back, but you have so many layers that it doesn't transmit enough heat. So when you're in the Zanskar situation in the summer, this heats up when you get hot water. When you're in these climates, it freezes. So there was 2 days where at around 2 p.m. your water's done. So, I mean, those were the 2 days that I had a headache at night. So go figure, it's the same as dehydration. So the water will freeze. There are ways to prevent that. Drink it fast, right? Don't keep the water in there. Fill up at your lunch stop. Put 1.5 liters in. Finish it in a few hours. So that kind of stuff you can do. Now gloves. Gloves are super important, as we all know. So these are off-road gloves, not appropriate for a road accident. This is going to get you in trouble, but in off-road conditions, a lot better feel on the bike. I did have these are my Climb Adventure GTX gloves, again Gore-Tex, waterproof. The waterproofing comes from, now it's torn, I'll tell you why. There's linings in this thing. As your hand is going through heat and cold cycles, it gets very moist in here, and the lining kind of gets stuck and you can't put your hand inside. So I was in a situation where it's raining and I need my Gore-Tex gloves. So I cut the whole thing open, reversed it, and then put it back inside because I couldn't get my hand inside, right? So I just had to, they've served their purpose for 3 years now. So I was okay doing that, but then I rode with them and I'm happy to ride with them again. That's the Gore-Tex lining that keeps your hand dry, and then a thermal lining, and then this is for a road accident, right? So this is appropriate for on-road and off-road. But then when these weren't working that day, I had to switch to these and then max out the heated grips and kind of just, the tops of your fingers are frozen, the bottom is hot, it's not comfortable, but at least you got gloves, right? That will protect you. So a couple of pairs of gloves. Now the boot. Climb GTX, again, now the boot is waterproof, but everything that's waterproof is not waterproof, right? Eventually it will become not waterproof. These are not waterproof anymore. You can see the kind of holes in after about 20,000 kilometers in these now, off-road mostly. So these are not waterproof. So they're basically very high up the shin. Now you do get much more aggressive boots from Alpine Stars. Those are the very famous ones, or Garnier. Now, the reason I like this boot is because it's very flexible and it's very, very comfortable on and off the bike. It's probably not as safe as a full plastic construction boot, but it's much more comfortable. But it served me well. Huh? It's heavy. I'll throw it, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. Now, it does have the BOA system. So on and off the bike, it's quick. You just lock and then twist. So it's got a very nice system. And it's been banged up quite a lot. So you can see a lot of bikes fall on me many, many times. You need a big boot like this. It's also thick, so it helps with your temperature. But beyond that, you have your socks that are going to go all the way up, right? So long socks. Yeah, stockings, pretty much, right? Not your mom's. But right. You have your own? Good. So long socks. Now the problem is that because the boot's not waterproof, we don't expect it to be waterproof, and then waterproof socks on top. Now let me tell you the problem with these is that they keep the water out, but then the water freezes. So we had a river crossing on ice, and then the water goes in and then it freezes. So now your toes are just covered in ice, and it was miserable. But it's better that it's not touching your skin, but it was very, very tough. So this keeps the water out, but in cold conditions, in the summertime, it's fantastic. In the wintertime, the water then freezes around you. So, and finally, for the boot, very, very important on ice, are the crampons, right? So Decathlon sells these. They are very versatile. They basically, you snap them onto your boot. Takes around 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Right. So this just goes down and it has the studs. So then when on ice, when you put your leg down, you have that traction. You have that ability to stop the bike or stop yourself from falling, right? And also just working on the bike on ice. So super, super important. It goes at the bottom. You kind of pull it over and you have a much better traction surface on the boot. And then for headgear, under the helmet, it's quite simple. Just full face balaclava. And if I can find, yeah. So simple Decathlon balaclava that goes all around, right? And the ability to put this up, because we do ride with the goggles most of the time. Much better airflow. You're getting that cold air. It feels really nice. But then your lip and your nose get very, very, very cold. So you can kind of move this up as required. And then beneath this on your neck is a neck gaiter, right? That bunches up around here. You'll see in some of the photographs. That keeps the wind out of the jacket and out of the neck area. Because again, we're dealing with wind chill, right? So that's pretty much all the gear, right? So this is again for a extreme Arctic condition. But nobody's going to ask the question, was I warm, right? Somebody asked the question. To a certain point, yes, I was warm. Surprisingly, like when I look at the temperature, I'd be like, wow, because you're also moving on the bike and you're like, yeah, this is really good. When it crossed minus 18, then things just went berserk. Like we crossed over a mountain pass, came down into the shadow of the mountain, and instantly it's like these snakes of, like cold just into the helmet and in here and in there, finding every little nook and cranny, and your body temperature is just ruined, right? And then it gets really, really, really cold. The fingers and the toes are in a lot of trouble. That's all of the gear. Now, that's what your morning looks like. That's around 6 o'clock in the morning at minus 15. All the gear comes off in layers. So at the end of the day, you layer it all out. You don't want to be waking up in the morning and then, oh, where's my boot? Oh, this is not the type of ride to do this on. It happens on fun rides all the time. Oh, I forgot this, I forgot that. No problem. But when you're dealing with your safety and frostbite and all of that, you can't afford to make a mistake, especially it's very, very cold in the morning. You need to get on the bikes at around 6:30. In this case, because we wanted the ice, so we can put the grip-studded tires and ride on the ice, because the grip-studded tires won't go on tarmac. So as the day increases, the temperature increases, the ice melts away, and now it's a worse traction condition. So we need to leave early, right? So the gear's all laid out. Now here's a picture of Anu on the GS. He's got a Krieger backpack on, for example. So completely different setup, but exact same thing. Notice the helmet, it has a beak. He's got a tinted visor, he's got a communication device, he's got his water pack, he's got big gloves. So exact same thing. So again, don't get focused on the branding and all that. Now I will say, and he's not going to like this when I say this, his entire suit was destroyed at the end of the ride. Like that suit did not survive IceKross. This suit did. So that's all I'm going to say. We sell Rhinox, we love Rhinox. My wife and mom both wear Rhinox when they ride with me. It's a fantastic brand, but when you're in extreme conditions, even this suit could get destroyed. If I had enough falls, like you can't, there's no money that can buy safety beyond a certain limit. So buy what's comfortable. It's more important to get out there safe. Just get out there, right? Instead of sitting at home thinking, oh, when I have the money, when I buy this, when I buy that, just get what you can and go for it, right? To a certain degree of safety, right?